Hello, everyone. So it's 1 year today since Donald Trump was defeated. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Ding dong, the witch is dead. The wicked old witch is dead. But unfortunately, Trumpism is not dead. The man himself is not literally dead, not really dead in the political sense either, but badly wounded, though he may be recovering. So we can take stock now. It seems like perhaps longer than a year since he's been out of office, but of course, this is the longest election in world history since Republicans are still disputing it, despite endless recounts, despite them hiring partisan companies. I mean, I don't think they've overturned the result in a single state, or as far as I know, a single county, despite losing over 60 court cases, many of them heard by judges who were Republican appointees, even Trump appointees. This is a zombie lie. It will not die. It's worse than Dracula. You can shoot it with a silver bullet. You can nail a wooden stake through its heart or whatever, and it just won't die. It's just somehow indestructible. So human credulity really knows no bounds. Wow. So these people will believe anything except the truth. You know, the Trumpists, those who deny evolution and climate change, the sort of snake handling irrationalists who are Trump followers, who'll deny any evidence that easy availability of guns lead to more gun deaths or anything. They will dispute things which are obvious facts, things which are easily observable. That's it. Who will just well, go in for the wholesale deglutition of these transparent lies that Trump constantly spews. Sorry if that's a terrible mixed metaphor. But Biden's also in trouble. So Joe Biden, he won the election by 4.5 percentage points, fairly narrow margin, is worryingly close. Now, on the face of it, the Democrats would win again next time, especially with Biden as an incumbent president, winning 75% of the time. Admittedly, that's because those who think they're going to lose, like LBJ, don't seek a second term. But the demographics are moving the Democrats' way. I know that was the argument in 2016, and the Democrats did win the popular vote by 2 percentage points. There are other things. I mean, the economy is growing, but slowly. Coronavirus has risen up again, partly because it's winter and because of stubborn resistance to science amongst Republican voters who won't take the vaccine. Admittedly, they tend to live in rural states where the populations are more diffuse and therefore obviously less prone to spreading it rapidly, unlike Democrats who are more likely to live in densely populated areas. So, although there's density of population, the population tends to be less dense in blue states. Well, if you look at the level of education, those who've finished secondary school or those who've got degrees and so forth, and unsurprisingly, the more intelligent people are more likely to get vaccinated. So it's not obviously killing Republican voters at such a level that's likely to affect the next election very much. Maybe in some wafer-thin states, it could hand one state to the Democrats they wouldn't otherwise win. But there have been some setbacks for the Democrats recently. Losing the governorship of Virginia. It's quite a close gubernatorial race, but they'd had that state for over 10 years. And some races the Democrats won, but just by worryingly narrow margins. So Biden was ahead in the approval ratings, and then came Afghanistan. What he did was to implement Trump's own plan to withdraw. The conflict is over for the United States. No American will ever get killed there again. No American serviceman or servicewoman, unless the United States goes back in. And I even heard a Republican calling the United States to do that, saying, we'll be back. Well, I think that won't be a popular theme. They won't be banging on about that in the next presidential election. Even if they said it was wrong to withdraw, they might say, this move having been done, we have to live with it. Because supposing Biden had shredded Trump's plan, and Trump loved ripping up agreements that previous presidents had made, then the conflict would have heated up. And the Taliban would have attacked the United States all the more. 13 Americans were killed during the withdrawal. It could have been much, much more. Obviously, the Taliban is more like a franchise. It's not terribly united or disciplined. So some people who had broken off it attacked American troops. It could have been far worse. But that hurt Biden's standing. But by doing something which was popular, withdrawing from Afghanistan, which most people approved of. Now, I know this left a lot of military hardware in the hands of the Taliban, but these things require an awful lot of maintenance, like these Black Hawk helicopters. For every hour in the air, they need about an hour of maintenance, and the Taliban don't have the know-how to keep those in a decent state of repair. They might be able to get technicians from Pakistan or even China to do it. But Biden's approval rating still hasn't recovered over 2 months on, which is a little bit worrying for them. But there has been a ray of hope. A really encouraging sign for the Democrats is finally passing that infrastructure spending package, $1 trillion. So, because the infrastructure is often in a poor state. I mean, I can't remember saying, the United States, yes, it is a first world country in terms militarily, but in some ways it's kind of really second world in terms of its rail infrastructure or the quality of its roads. I mean, in certain states, in terms of public healthcare being very patchy. Obviously, there's this private healthcare, which is just exorbitantly expensive, prohibitively expensive for many people, and insurance packages, medical insurance packages, which will cover everything except illness. Anyway, so that's good news. He's not even trying to bring back the Affordable Care and Patient Protection Act, dispiritingly. Some bold moves on decarbonisation of the economy, moving towards low carbon emissions or a zero carbon emissions economy, using hydrocarbons less, achieving energy independence, which means they don't have to worry about the Middle East so much. They could boost their economy up to 10%, as no longer have to be importing energy, and on and on and on. No more oil slicks, no more major fires, higher quality air. Obviously, it's going to hurt the Democrats in states like West Virginia, but that was probably a forlorn hope for them anyway. Most people voting a Democrat because coal mining is one of the few well-paying jobs for blue-collar workers, as most people are in that state. When artificial intelligence comes in, these self-driving trucks, that'll hit a lot of people. For men without a degree, that's the number one job in quite a few states. Remember, think 20 years' time, there'll probably not be a single truck driver, taxi driver, bus driver, pilot, of a plane, helicopter pilot of a ship in the world. And already AI is taking over. The trouble, the profits from that are probably going to go to the super rich rather than taxing it and then redistributing that wealth or creating more jobs for those people who've lost their jobs through mechanization. There are always a few Luddites who resist technological innovation because they know that it'll put them out of work. I mean, should we disinvent trains, therefore, disinvent the printing press, disinvent whatever else, really all technological innovations, because they have put people out of work. We've created new jobs for them. I know it's been a bit rough on those who've lost their jobs. So anyway, there's also going to be clean drinking water. That's one of the good things he's bringing in. Notably, he's not trying to do anything on firearms control. Partly, I suppose, he realised that is just a lost cause. All that would do would serve to galvanise the Republican base, the gun nuts. So I'm hoping his approval ratings will come up. Their presidents have had lower approval ratings at this stage of the electoral cycle and gone on to win, but not many. But the other thing is, just because he's done, just because previous presidents have mostly lost when this unpopular so early in the presidency, doesn't guarantee it'll happen again. Just because virtually everyone who won the popular vote by 2 percentage points wins the presidency, didn't guarantee that Hillary Clinton was going to win it. Now, admittedly, this package was passed by very narrow majorities in both chambers of Congress, and worried about the midterms next November. So the Republicans could have a red wave then. Remember, the party that's the White House tends to be penalized by the electorate. The Democrats have always struggled to motivate their followers to cast their ballots in the midterms. But anyway, if the Republicans seize back control of the House of Representatives, and they're redistricting in a very partisan manner as ever, and win it back in the Senate, they could overturn this positive legislation. They might not do, actually, because they see it's good for even the red states as well. It's not the kind of thing that's particularly put the backup of Republican voters something that they want to oppose. So, I mean, what I wish Biden would do is say, obviously only Congress can actually, has the power of the purse, but it's his financial plan to have like a billionaire tax and a millionaire tax, and even cut tax for something like 80% of Americans, increase it just for the richest 10% or less, and maybe have it neutral for about 10%, and then to be spending on useful things. But Trump has still not declared his hand for the next presidential election, lying and saying he can't for some sort of legal reason. Lie. When has he ever cared about obeying the law? But I think it's to keep the story hot. If he declared his hand now, then the speculation would disappear. I suppose he doesn't want the humiliation of declaring him. Is he going to seek it again, a third term, a second term, and then not actually going for it. So they're not harping on as much, claiming that Trump actually won the election, that blatant lie that they're always telling. Anyway, that's enough from me. Thank you so much to the chap who donated £50 to me today. I shan't say your name unless you wish me to, give you credit on air. So everybody, you know you can do online lessons with me in history, politics, religious studies, citizenship, French, law, English as a foreign language, English literature, English language, the Life in the UK test. I'm a tour guide in London when tourism reopens. So thank you for all your fraternal messages of support. So find me on PayPal. You know how to donate on PayPal. Thank you, everyone. Toodaloo.